And I have a lot of things that he said about Jay-Z, but the reason why I won't say them because he's dead, but I can just say this. Pimp C had a perspective that the South had a sound and that the South was winning with that sound, and certain people in certain geographical areas wanted to steal that sound. And he was opposed to that. He thought that certain people was trying to steal the UGK sound and the country rap tunes, what he called, And I heard a lot, Jazzy Faye, Michael Monroe, and Paper Chase was in the room, and he had some very, very explosive things to say.
Yeah, we on Boss Talk 101. Yeah, we gonna talk.
I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna move over to. I gotta ask you about Pimp C every time because I like to keep his name alive.
Right.
And just what do you when you how has it been since Pimp been gone? When you think about Pimp, what's the thing that you miss the most about Pimp C?
Well, it was like. It was like a booster, right? It was like somebody being, in pocket and being rich, but being your friend at the same time. I told you about the $3 million deal, right? And he gave me $1 million if it materialized, and he was going to play me. That's on the internet. I'm not making this up.
Correct.
People cap, but I'm not capping. I know a lot of people talk about Pimp C, but he said, I want to play Pimpin' Ken. We had 5 movies. He said, one of the movies I'm going to play Pimpin' Ken. So, that kind of realness doesn't exist anymore, where people could be selfish and they can say, yeah, man, I'm going to take all this pie to myself. I ain't giving Ken nothing, man. Hey, man, I got this deal. I'm finna just go run with the deal. Universal giving me the money. Ruben, which is his manager at the time, he signed the deal, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. But Ruben called me and D from Nashville. He made us sign the contract as well. That realness, man, and just like, man, coming and get me from the airport and just riding, man, just up and down, going to Port Arthur, man, and we just talking and kicking and he just popping and man, just a good dude, man. I remember one time, this real talk, I was in Texas, and I was in the hotel, but I knew he stayed on Westheimer, so I was staying close to his hotel. To his condo. So he's like, man, you ain't got to stay in no damn Woodard. Man gave me the keys, Me and Paper Chase, man, he rest in peace too. And said, man, y'all brothers, y'all chill over here, And it was just like, now in my mind, I'm Pimpin' Ken, but I'm saying, this is Pimp C. This is like, to me, this be my Jay-Z. Like, man, dude is just, And then I kind of figured it out, after he died. It's like, when he was in jail, man, I was the only one, sending him pictures. I don't know if it's some other people doing stuff for him, but that's what he told me. He said, did nobody come see him? And I went to see him, and I sent him pictures and stuff like that. And he wasn't the Pimp C that y'all know. He was the old Pimp C, the pocket full of stones that fell off and started using drugs and start whatever, he had going on at that time, and people had written him off. But, he know that my relationship and anybody that messed with me know it was never based on him being Pimp C or none of that. It was based on, us just kicking it. We was just kicking it. Like I remember when he got into trouble, I was right there. He had like, I think a bag or something on him. He's like, man, I gotta get rid of this shit. And I'm serious, man, real talk. And I was there. But he was smooth. He's a kid, man, just gone on.
Yeah.
He didn't want me to get caught up with him, man. And, I went at the actual crime scene anyway. What happened, right? With
the
gun.
Yeah. I just want to ask you also, like, when you look at Pimp C's music and the stuff, what's one of your favorite songs?
See, now that's what I should have started off with. so the music was so. Anybody that ride with me. My man right here, Bo, will tell you, when you ride with me, I'm playing old school through the heart the whole time. So what Pimp C was unique at, he would go and get old school music, the Funkadelics, he would get Sly and the Family Stone, and he'd be playing the music and he'd make a beat to the music, and he'd make some melody to the rap, and he'd put that with it. A lot of people don't know. A lot of those masterpiece songs they're singing, that was Pimp C.
Oh, for sure.
You know, Pimp C can sing, he can rap, and he was very into old school music. So he used a lot of samples, you know, and he was really good at that. And so, you know, being in the studio with him was like, he was like the boss. Bun B would be there, Jazzy Faye would be there, we'd be there with all of them, and Pimp be like, hey, we gonna do that motherfucker like that, Jazzy, and Bun B, I mean, I actually watched him just pretty much navigate. He was like a conductor. He conducted the whole
like he was
scene.
sitting there setting it all up.
Yeah, he and his mind be constantly flowing with music. You know, he was a musicologist. You know what I'm saying? He really loved music, and he really loved soul music.
Yeah.
So if you listen to a lot of his stuff, it got a lot of soul in it. You know, and can't no rapper to this day even get close to what he was doing.
When you think about it, I had Mr. Lee on here. Mr. Lee said he was the first one he ever seen put a screw track to a fast track. Dirty. I remember when Pimp, you know, I always bring up Pimp C. That's it for me. But the Too Hard to Swallow, and then what was the next one? Super Tight.
Yeah.
And then come Riding Dirty, and you hear the screw down. I'm super by the amp, and I'm looking good.
Take to the boys, ride the slab.
I'm banging screw, nigga. You know, it had you ever? I flipped down the amp. Had you ever heard anybody screw that music down like that before Pimp C?
When I heard it, I was like, man, I'm doing that. I'm finna put my own flavor.
Wait a minute, Mr. Lee. I gotta get this right. You say you never heard nobody screw that down.
Nobody in this industry has influenced me to do screwed hooks, but that song.
You see what I'm saying? That diamond's up against that wood. I'm thinking of, and you put DJ Screw's screw part on a regular, you know, a regular track, and basically you hear it, you know what I mean, going back and forth. And that was something that I didn't think about when I first started off interviewing people. And then when I knew it, but I never said it because I wasn't in there. But Mr. Lee say that was the first person he ever seen do that.
Hey man, the man was so smooth, right? I did 5, maybe 7 albums with him, right? One was a posthumous album, one was a UGK album, then 5 of his albums, right? So we'd be in the studio, and you know me, I'm talking, I'm doing my stuff, and I'm like, Pimp, don't put that there. I ain't mean to say it like that. And if you listen to the last UGK album, I said, now y'all go ahead and do what y'all want to do with that. That's what I said. I was telling them to edit it, right?
He left it in there.
But he when he did it, I was kind of upset. I was like, man, come on.
It sounded good, though.
But what he told me, he said, Ken, man, one thing about it, he said, man, when you talk, it's all freestyle. He said, if I do anything to it, it's going to take away what it is. He said, you're not a rapper. You know what I'm saying? That's what he told me. He said, you're not a rapper. So he was basically... He knew something about me that I didn't know. He knew that this was me. Basically, he was like, nigga, this who you is. Yeah. I can't, if I take one fraction out of here, it ain't you. In every album that he did, he always put my shit out raw. But his posthumous album, the one Shannara did, you know, the last album After His Death, now that album was edited. So you could listen to all the albums, and I'm just rambling and babbling and shit, talking mess. And it came out just how I kicked it. That was the only one that did it. He just felt that, you know, he knew, I would say he was so musically inclined, he knew what would resonate. You know, like he can put, you know, I remember we was in the Beverly Hills Hotel, he seen Wyclef. Oh man, I got to get Wyclef on the album, right? You know, and Wyclef, you know, I guess they talked or whatever. I don't know if it ever materialized. But he was trying to get him on the album because he had seen something that he can put together right then and there. Wow. And he did the album, the UGK album, in the same studio that Michael Jackson recorded his album because he wanted to have, you know, that feeling of Michael Jackson in the room. Wow. Yeah,
what was
his deep like that?
What was his thing with Tupac, man? Did he think? Because a lot of people say that was one of the main reasons he didn't rock with Jay and all that. What was his thing with Tupac? Did you ever talk to him about Tupac?
Me and him never talked about Tupac I didn't know that he liked it Tupac like that. So when I heard that, I was like, that's a real nigga. You know what I'm saying? I mean, nigga, you is acting crazy against Jay-Z, Big Pimpin', nigga. All of the record, if you went to, when I went to the funeral, right? All of the record labels, that was the main central topic of the funeral. Man, why did Pimp C want to do the Big Pimpin' album?
He didn't want to.
He made them give him a car. He made them give him a Mercedes. He kept the Mercedes. He was taking them to the limit on that, you know. And I have a lot of things that he said about Jay-Z, but the reason why I won't say them because he's dead. But I can just say this: Pimp C had a perspective that the South had a sound, and that the South was winning with that sound, and certain people in certain geographical areas wanted to steal that sound, and he was opposed to that. He thought that certain people was trying to steal the UGK sound and the country rap tunes, what he called, you know. And I heard a lot, you know, Jazzy Faye, Michael Monroe, and Paper Chase was in the room, and he had some very, very explosive things to say about certain individuals. And you know, I'm tripping, right? Because you got to remember, the people he talking about, I'm fans of. So I'm like, what? You know what I'm saying? Really? You know what I mean? But you know, I'm just as shocked, and Paper Chase just as shocked, you know, and Jazzy Faye, you know, he just like going along with the move or whatever he was saying, and Monroe had recorded some of it. And Pimp said, "Hey, Monroe, don't you put that shit out, man. Don't you put that shit out." And you know, so I bet you, and hey, this ain't no Pimp C sex tape, but I bet you Monroe, he may rest in peace, had that footage of Pimp C saying some of the biggest rappers that you could imagine. This and Jazzy Faye can back this up. I know he's still living. You know what I'm saying? He know what I'm talking about. He know who Pimp C didn't like.
And there was some people we don't know, but
you know.
I know them, but nobody knows.
I'm telling you, the world know him. They one some of the biggest rappers in the world. You know, and he even went on the radio and talked bad about a lot of rappers too. He didn't like. I can say that because he said he didn't like Russell Simmons.
He had an issue with Jesus' dope prices. That's all. He didn't say he didn't like it.
He didn't have an issue with.
Yeah, he said the prices wasn't right now.
But I'm telling you, what that stemmed from is that Jeezy people sent an invoice over to Pimp C, and that invoice I think was like 60 bands, and it was saying, and Pimp C had just did a song called Dickie's a Son. So you know they were swapping. You know, that's how the gang goes. You know, you swap music and you swap. You know, that's how they was doing. That's how them niggas was able to, you know, put out platinum records. You know, Short and E40. You know, they would swap it out. You know, because you know back then, you know, to get somebody on a song was very expensive.
It definitely was.
Yeah,
definitely was. And
so if you get somebody for free, that was a blessing.
You see, Bun B, he opened up another Trill Burger. I was proud to see that. You know what I mean? And he always, you know, he repped the Pimp at these places. You know, when you go in there, you see a picture of him and all that good stuff, man.
When Pimp was in jail, me and Bum rocked like crazy.
Okay.
He went to 3 or 4 of my birthday parties in Milwaukee. I was on the Bum B album. I don't know if you remember that. The one that Jay Prince put. I was on that album. Yes, I always forget to say that, but I'm glad you said it. But I was on that album, and we would. You know, we would rock out, you know what I'm saying? We would kick it, you know what I'm saying? You know, we had some wild shit going on, but I can't talk about that.
But it was a dope move.
But I made sure he was always happy. You know, because I was still young and still doing crazy shit. So, you know, he was my man, you know. I don't think he was married at the time, so it was before his marriage. But, you know, he'll tell you, man, Bum will tell you, man, when I said I was back in the day, I was.
Wow.
He'll tell you. Mr. Cole, all them niggas, man. Cash Money, all them niggas tell you, man.
All of Birdman,
I was really in the game. You know what I'm saying? I had some of the baddest motherfuckers on the planet.
Yeah, we on Boss Talk 101. Yeah, we gonna talk.